Continue the unfinished story in part 2. Her body became increasingly frail, nosebleeds were frequent, and she would die soon. However, her father only cared that the power hadn't disappeared. Taking a bunch of medicine, just shove it in your mouth. This was the bloodline she had worked so hard to obtain. Don't waste any bit of it. At this moment, Hillis realized this wasn't what she called medicine. It was Kalish's blood. Unable to withstand the overly potent medicine, she finally died on a cold, bleak morning. This was Hillis' third life, a sad experience. Back to reality, Hillis inherited the head of the family position. The news spread everywhere, and Chris's father also knew about it. He angrily scolded his son, asking why he chose an engagement without a clear origin from the beginning. A bottle of ink was thrown at Chris. Listen to my father's reprimand. Even though he didn't speak, he wasn't angry. Who chose his wife from the beginning? That was the father. He was just a well-behaved and filial son. The old father got even more excited. Listen to him scold his son, then, just get married early. Now there are a few children with the Parvanan bloodline. He not only wanted to find a wife, but he also wanted to end it if he compared himself to his father at the beginning of his life. The father was burning. He didn't have a son like that. So from now on, she would call him the elder brother. My father angrily picked up the bottle of red wine. The Parvanan family has always been unique. There is no son who can inherit, only adopted siblings can become heirs to the clan. Chris has never considered this issue seriously. Gabrielle unexpectedly appears, but Chris no longer needs her. Even when stumbling and being entangled, Chris no longer pays attention to her. Chris is genuinely troubled by the current situation. Unexpectedly, Hillis has taken control of the Enoden family. That's the reason why he saw Hillis and Axion in the Four Seasons forest. Thinking about it, Chris senses all the past conflicts. After all, they are all under the control of a family. However, he still hasn't achieved anything. He has to climb to a position similar to Hillis. Returning to the Enoden family, where Hillis is working, the butler informs her that the elder is coming to visit. For her, these elders are like dogs seeking prey. So, she orders the butler to send them away. However, despite the owner's words, the elders still enter. Upon entering, they immediately speak sweet words to win Hillis' favor. In reality, they are just setting traps. The servant then announces the arrival of the leader of the Rerano family. They are one of the powerful clans under the Enoden family. But perhaps, they still don't know that Hillis has become the family head. They probably came to find their father and brother. Hillis instructs her servant to call him in, causing dissatisfaction among the elders. Do they treat us as if we're invisible? Hillis sneers. They trespassed without my permission. How dare you speak to us like this? Hillis' expression darkens, and there's a murderous look in her eyes. Leave immediately, or don't blame me for being impolite. This is the most lenient thing I can do. They immediately apologize, but it's just a verbal compromise given the current situation. Later, the butler announces that Duke Ferrano has arrived. He is a very respectful person, even though Hillis hasn't officially assumed the family head position yet. Still, he respects the history because she carries the Enoden bloodline. Hillis can understand that he is someone she can trust. From now on, I appoint him as my representative. The rose seal on his hand proves his identity as the head of the Hillis family. This surprises everyone. Ferrano is worried but kneels down, accepting Hillis' trust. This means he holds the highest authority outside the family head. The elders show dissatisfaction. How can this power be given to an outsider? The noise becomes unbearable. Hillis activates her abilities directly. In an instant, they don't know where they've been thrown, with a warning that if such a thing happens again, it won't end well. She feels Ferrano is the most suitable person, and he can't refuse. Hillis' father unexpectedly hears the news. He probably never thought Hillis would choose a representative. He hurriedly rushes to the conference room. The room is noisy, and he continuously scolds Hillis. The next thing he thinks, he's really foolish. Why is Axion here? Axion not only agreed to meet Hillis in 2 days but also worries about the other wounds on her hand. He heard that no doctor was invited to check. Hillis' face immediately changes. Although you might think I'm peculiar, I can't help but want to take care of it. Hillis looks calm on the surface. In reality, the path was full of chaos. However, her father rushed in recklessly. The atmosphere immediately stiffened. Why are you here? Hillis' father, frozen in place, greeted him. Hello, former Enoden patriarch. Are you feeling better now? Can you get out of bed? Axion inquired. But do you really have to bother us by barging in like this? Axion responded with sarcasm. The young man not only handsome but also a perfect match. Hillis' father had no choice but to leave in despair. The scene was quite interesting. For a moment, Hillis felt good. The two of them looked strangely harmonious. Hillis had visited on this day to bring joy to Kalish's family. Since she was aging and frail, there was no other choice but to invite Hillis to settle the matter peacefully. Margot, holding a flying lantern, approached Hillis and placed it in her arms. Ren regretted not being able to accompany her. Finally, she had saved her granddaughter. However, she still wanted Hillis to spend more time with Margot. Before leaving, Margot pulled Hillis' sleeve and whispered into her ear. "I haven't told anyone. If you want more, I'll give you more." It referred to the fact that Hillis had consumed a magic pill. Hillis was grateful but assured her that her heart was content. Despite Margot's peculiar behavior before, Hillis felt that now wasn't the right time to ask. However, she still wanted to be friends with Hillis. She was optimistic about Hillis. When she learned that Hillis was 19 years old, it seemed like the two of them were a good match. Only then did Hillis understand that these old foxes wanted a marriage between her and Margot. "I'm sorry, I have other things to do," Hillis excused herself. The old ladies had to work hard to convince her. Until she made her angry. The wind changed direction, and Terzo was nominated again. The two women didn't say a word, but it was challenging to involve Hillis. But that wasn't the only thing that worried her. The holy chalice was missing. It was an item created by the king for the Inoden family, considered a family heirloom passed down through generations. A cup of wine would be used by those in power to recognize their rightful owner. No one knew what to do. Only Hillis, her father, Ricardo, and the butler were allowed to touch the holy chalice. Hillis also thought about what had happened a few days ago. It was easy to figure out who had done it. Hillis went to her father's room, but not to find him. Despite deep-seated anger, she stood still and went to the bookshelf. Moved a green box on the shelf with force. Suddenly, a secret room appeared. Her father's face looked unbelievably surprised. She thought her father was ridiculous. "I really didn't think that losing the holy chalice would lead to the cancellation of my inauguration ceremony," Hillis thought. "Don't waste anything anymore, otherwise, the positions of the others will have to be narrowed down," Hillis told her father. "This victory and the leadership position do not belong to you." It was the first time she had witnessed the holy chalice. She was also curious about its capabilities, so she decided to experiment a bit with her abilities. However, nothing happened. By chance, she encountered the Ferrano family. The air was filled with an unpleasant and strange odor. Enrique asked the master if he had just used his ability, and Hillis suddenly remembered that she had experimented with the holy chalice. Surprisingly, the smell was so strong, possibly influenced by the gem from the Cilia family. Moving on to the Kalisha family, we could see Terzo's cousin, and next to her was the Lady Montana. As soon as they met, Terzo's calculating nature became apparent. However, they didn't know about Terzo's dark side. The scene shifted to close friends Violetta and Montana chatting. As soon as Terzo was mentioned, Violetta's face changed. Within the family, conflicts were arising. Montana tried to calm Violetta down, reminding her that they hadn't seen each other for a long time and should not let such matters bother them. Violetta knew that Montana had chosen Terzo's cousin as her life partner. She wished for happiness, and if regret arose, they could live together. Montana asked Violetta if she had any friends she wanted to introduce. Violetta mentioned Hillis, the new head of the Inoden family, who seemed to have an inexplicable charm. Later, at a noble prince's party, the atmosphere was strange, making Ricardo a bit worried. The heat from Osmond, a friend, made him relax. Osmond introduced him to a new type of wine, but Ricardo felt strange after drinking it. The next time he appeared was at a party hosted by the Inoden family. The strange atmosphere made him a bit uneasy. His hot-headed friend, Osmond, was causing some discomfort. Something was wrong with him. Ricardo realized that he was no longer the owner of the rose. This hit him hard. Hillis had never been mentioned at a party like this before. But now he couldn't leave the venue without saying a word. His friends were still trying to get to know each other, and nobody wanted to befriend Hillis more than he did. Osmond noticed Ricardo's distress. "We mean no harm. I hope you don't mind. You are still the center of our attention," Osmond said mockingly. However, what could Ricardo do in this situation? The main character, Hillis, had become the hot topic in high society. Hillis received invitations, including one from Osmond and Heliona, to celebrate their one-year engagement anniversary. Something serious was going to happen on that day. Everything started from the extravagance of the aristocratic society. It rained constantly until 11 at night. "Let's try and act. As soon as I left the basement, where am I going?" Suddenly, a series of ropes appeared. Too late to react. Two men lay right there, looking at the ferocious monster in the basement. How dare Hillis throw herself into the battle? Without the strength from the Kalisha family, she would never have become what they were now. Remembering the fourth life of Hillis. At that time, my father still thought clearly about Hillis. So she told him what she had been through. He didn't believe any of it. Instead, he locked her in a room, just like in the third life. The father found Kalisha's blood. I know this will lead to death. If I eat it, I will die. He called her very cunning, thinking this time she could deceive him. Hillis tried to resist this, but the truth was cruel, a slap in the face. My father not only felt that he was persuading, but I also think that even if I die, eat it for your family. It was a reasonable thing, he said. This time, Hillis tried to cling to the last ray of hope, but it still vanished. Of course, I won't suggest my presence. Thinking that if I didn't smile, my father would give up. But on this day, two ladies suddenly grabbed Hillis. Father had no patience. He directly forced that medicine into Hillis' throat. Unfortunately, this method was effective. Her body began to weaken, and everyone who came to see her was affected by their appearance. Everyone called her a monster. I desperately begged my brother to help me, but there was no hope. Indeed, Hillis was too naive at that time. I can only blame myself for being too lenient. At that time, in that basement, it was a desolate place. Axion had the task of investigating clues about this place. But someone deliberately destroyed the evidence. Looking at the burnt monster, something was quite unusual. But I couldn't say it. He soon discovered that the core was not destroyed. So, can it be burned to death? The scene in front of him felt familiar. Like I had experienced it before. Occasionally, there was the scent of roses from Hillis. Was it a conspiracy, or was she really here? When he arrived, he had to investigate carefully. Little Gabriella went out with excitement. She met Ormond and Helena. Hillis will attend our engagement party. Gabriella's face was a bit confused because she had never heard of it. I didn't receive an invitation from them either. Helena pretended to invite her. We hope that the more people who come to congratulate, the better. Helena teased Gabriella's dark heart. Perhaps Gabriella finds it difficult to live with Hillis because they don't share the same blood. Tears kept pouring out. She loves her sister Hillis so much. She doesn't want to talk to these two anymore. Angry, she ran away. Finally, the day of the party arrived. Hillis became a celebrity, the talk of the town, adorned in a vibrant pink evening gown. Many celebrities were gossiping about her, making her feel overwhelmed. Hello, Miss Hillis. Enrique, under the guidance of House Inoden, hopes for your support. Surprisingly, Hillis not only remembered him but also happily accepted his help. However, a new issue arises when Chris suddenly appears and inquires about the situation in the palace, to which Hillis responds with disdain. Suddenly, the host of the party appears, questioning if everyone came together. The answer is no, they just happened to meet. The party starts in a cheerful atmosphere, and for the first time, Hillis is in everyone's sight. Violeta, eagerly awaiting a meeting with Hillis, struggles to express herself. On the other hand, Chris, close to the household at home, has an uncomfortable encounter. Gabriel makes another appearance, continuous criticism. The reason being that he attended the party without inviting her. Chris confronted her that our engagement was broken. Gabriel claims ignorance, advising she to ask her father about it. In a distant part of the party, Ricardo can be seen. Even though it was Ormond's party, he still hesitated to invite him. In the end, it turned out that no one was at fault for not inviting him, since it was Hillis who didn't announce it. While searching, Ormond sends sincere wishes to Enrique, realizing his mistake. Ormond advises him to change for the better for Hillis' sake. A loud noise outside startles everyone. Ormond rushes to investigate, and it turns out to be the scream of another girl, similar to Gabriel's. The party is lively, and Helena gathers everyone to reveal the secret of the party. She wants to be present on her special day, offering a unique gift to everyone. Despite being a common occurrence, there is always hope that it will feel special. In the curiosity of everyone, Helena guesses the red fabric on the cage correctly, but it still isn't enough. A giant creature with a wide-open red mouth and a larger mouth behind it. Chris has never seen such a large creature, and Axion uses his ability to freeze the opponent's actions, thinking everything will be fine. However, unexpectedly, he fails to overcome the 3-second rule. Violeta, not far away, witnesses the creature charging. At this crucial moment, the monster's large mouth is tightly bound by a black supernatural force. The creature is helpless against this power familiar to Axion. Hillis appears suddenly, delivering a sweet blow to the monster. And flatter Axion for eliminating the monster. Another suspicion calms Axion, and he looks at the person before turning away. In desperation, he holds Hillis' hand. At this moment, a strange feeling returns, as if finding something lost long ago. A chaotic and normal heart. Hillis speaks enigmatically before letting go, leaving Axion puzzled and curious. Next day, Axion plans to visit Hillis' home to find her. A gust of wind blows through Hillis' words, "It's up to you," as she releases her hand and walks away. Ricardo shouted Gabriel's name at this moment, showing great concern. This scene happened to be witnessed by Axion. Observing you like this, he thought Inoden only had one woman left. Ricardo blushed, but Axion understood quite a bit about the situation. He knew Hillis wasn't favored by her father, and he was surprised that her only brother treated her this way. As per history from a previous life, Cordelia, to protect from monsters, was punished with a wound from behind by a monster. Miss Violetta also lost an eye in that accident. Today's events seem like Hillis has repaid Violetta's favor. Those monsters were created by the Calica bloodline, causing her pain due to that blood. Hillis, the righteous warrior, decided to leave home, and her father reluctantly chased after her. She didn't know where to escape, she just didn't want to be experimented on again. Hillis ran onto the street and encountered a horse carriage. It was a close call, almost fatal. "Are you okay?" A girl stepped out of the carriage. She was from the Kalisha family. It was the first time the two met. Hillis, sitting on the ground, found the girl familiar but couldn't recall the name. The girl looked troubled, like finding a lifeline. "Help me," Hillis said by just looking up. But her father suddenly appeared behind her, and it was time to go home, witnessing Hillis' terrifying state. Thinking about the horrors she would face upon returning, she tried his best to stand up and protect himself. Perhaps fatigue wasn't the issue, he fought hard to overcome it. When she woke up, she was back home, confined to the room as before. And again, that medicine. The only difference this time was that she was imprisoned in her father's secret room. It was so quiet here that she couldn't feel the passage of time, as if forgotten. When she wanted to die, a ray of hope emerged. A hopeful thought comforted her. "I'll take you out right now, no matter how many times. I will never forget this." Life on the fifth day seemed unchanged, and indeed, he and a glimmer of hope were alike. If not for his relationship with her, perhaps Hillis would have been confined there until death.
That's all for now, see you in the next part.